60 of 58 million reasons to return to Green Bay for his 19th season. 19. But the four-time MVP is anything but predictable. Aaron, what's the update?
We had all the conversations I think we wanted to have about football for now. They're not pressing for any type of specific, answer, and I'm not, mentally or emotionally at that point to give one. Again, if I'm asked about it, I'll respond in honesty. But this is not going to be something where I'm going to, respond to a bunch of inquiries about, what are you thinking this week, or what are you thinking next week, or where you at? It's just it's get away from it mentally, and then and emotionally, and then physically as your body starts to come back after a few weeks of TLC. Then I think you're in a better frame of mind to to contemplate your future.
Dan Graziano, your informed opinion of what Rodgers will do in 2023.
Ayahuasca or one of those that terrible cleanse, right? That he did. Yeah,
didn't work this year, by the way. They missed the playoffs.
I don't know. Look, he it's going to be up to him. My sense of it is the way they've structured the contract with $60 million coming this year it should be an enticement to him, and I think that's what the team is hoping. He was a big part of that contract as well, working that out. So he certainly knew. I think when he signed it, the expectation was probably that he was in for at least 2 years, and so that would be my expectation. But he's a wild card. He has said he doesn't need the money. I believe him. He could decide that he's had enough. If you're asking me to guess, I'm going to guess that he's coming back with the Packers, but I'm guessing.
Mike T, you were very critical of how Rodgers handled last offseason, and that includes when he started working with his receivers and all that. What are you doing if you're the Packers brass right now?
Yeah, I'm going to give him a couple of weeks, that's for sure. But well before the start of the league year, which is mid-March, I'm going to go see him, and we're going to get this thing resolved, because it was undeniable that last year the chemistry with those young receivers, Romeo Doubs, their fourth-round pick, Christian Watson, their second-round pick, improved as the season went on. Not all off-seasons are created equal. And, Max, you just made the point. They didn't make the playoffs, and they had plenty of talent to get there. So to me, Aaron, if you're getting paid $60 million next year to be in Green Bay in March and April. You're not just getting paid $60 million for 17 Sundays in September. This is a commitment that starts at the beginning of the league year. So if you're in, great, wonderful. If not, we feel better about Jordan Love than we did a year ago.
Coach, do you think Rodgers owes it to the Packers to make a decision sooner than later?
I think he owes it to his teammates. Bottom line. He owes it to the players in the locker room that are with him, that he plays with. I think after the Super Bowl, we'll hear from Aaron Rodgers again. I think this organization knows after the Super Bowl, a lot of things start happening. I think by then, Aaron Rodgers has had enough time to think about what he wants to do, if he wants to leave, if he wants to stay, if he wants to retire. I actually hope he stays in Green Bay and they help him and get some more pieces for him. Because I do still think he has a live enough arm and that he can still play football.
Mike T, one of the reasons, like sometimes fans or certainly front office types don't love it when players talk to the media, do their weekly radio hit or whatever, right? Is in this case with the Pat McAfee show with Aaron Rodgers, is almost no matter what you say, the question itself gives fodder to the rest of the media to speculate. Did you hear anything in what Rodgers just said on the Pat McAfee show that tips you off? Does it tell you anything?
Well, I think, like a lot of guys, they need some time to heal, certainly physically, but also mentally. And my gut is that he is coming back a little bit to what Dan alluded to. I think when they went through what they went through last year, it was sort of like a multi-year sort of like relationship. So I think if he was leaning towards retiring, Max, I think we would have heard more of that. Candidly, I kind of heard more of that when he was walking off the field with Randall Cobb a couple of weeks ago, but he certainly appeared, Max, to be a little bit more like energetic and vivacious than he did, obviously, after a huge loss to Detroit.
Do you hear anything as a reporter, Dan, that you say, oh, he just told me something?
Nope. I'm serious. He sounds to me exactly like he sounded this time last year. I think he has a playbook. I think he knows exactly what to say in order to not give anything away and to not be caught. Right? Like, oh, you said this and you did this. He doesn't want that either. I think he's going to honestly make a decision, and he doesn't want to box himself in.
If you want to know what we all really feel about this, just imagine this. Rodgers decides to come back with Packers. Is that news? Is that really news? The news would be if he decided he doesn't want to be in Green Bay anymore or if he's retiring. Staying with the Packers is barely news. That means he's probably staying with the Packers, right? Right, Coach? Isn't that what that means?
Yeah, you're saying, look, Aaron Rodgers is a smart guy. He's not, he understands what's going on. I think he kind of loves us trying to figure out what is Aaron Rodgers going to do, right? I mean, it seems like that every time he goes on that show, he leaves us these little hints, and then we got to come together and say, well, what is he going to do? Hopefully he stays with Green Bay, and we move on. That's what I'm hoping.
Here's something that would be news, guys, no matter what happens. The Baltimore Ravens and Lamar Jackson. Because the team can resume negotiations on a long-term deal now that the season's over. They suspended talks at the start of the regular season, right? The message from Lamar Jackson's teammates is simple. Pay that man.
You can't let a guy like him go, I mean, I know it's football and, and there's always, some new, exciting toy, new exciting kid, that has potential to go out there and be great. But this is a business of for sure's and knowns, and Lamar Jackson is an incredible player, and I think it's in the best interest of the Ravens organization to give him a long-term contract and make him a guy.
In my mind, I know he's going to be here. That's just he's a competitor and he wants to win, and this is his team and this is his offense, and the money is not the most important thing. Lamar, he really wants to win.
All right, then yesterday, Lamar did not write this, but he reposted it, so he amplified this message on his Instagram story. Quote, when you have something good, you don't play with it, you don't take chances losing it, you don't neglect it. When you have something good, you pour into it, you appreciate it. Because when you take care of something good, that good thing takes care of you too. Oh, Graz, what can you tell us about Lamar's future in Baltimore?
I think there's work that needs to be done. I think there's a lot of frustration around the organization and some on the part of Lamar Jackson that he wasn't able to finish this season, that there isn't a contract in place. I think this year has gone badly for that relationship, and I think it needs to be mended. I think it can be. I don't think that the two sides will never talk to each other again, and he'll dig in and demand a trade. I think they'll at some point get back to the negotiating table and see if they can find some common ground. If they can't, you're talking about a franchise tag. You're talking about the potential of a trade demand, et cetera. But I don't think they're there yet, and I think there is at least one more round of trying to get this marriage to work long term.
Mike T, he was offered $133 guaranteed last year. Like, forget about the Deshaun Watson deal. That was $230 fully guaranteed. That's $100 million under that market, and that's the new market. But if the NFL teams want to ignore, no, that's not the market. It's the Russell Wilson deal and the Kyler Murray deals. That was an outlier. Those were both over $160 guaranteed. So even to those contracts, he's a better quarterback than either one of those guys. They were $30 million light. $30 million light. Now, Tony Dungy on ESPN Radio Monday said he'd worry about giving Lamar a long-term deal. There's also people in the media speculating maybe injury. Do you share those concerns?
Well, obviously you have concerns, but I still have, and I've said this before, I'd rather have Lamar Jackson for 12 or 14 games than not have him for 17, because when he's on my team, we have a chance to win. Now, there would be obviously a big discussion around how much guaranteed money, when it's guaranteed. I think a representative amount between whatever it comes in at 155, 160, 165. That's the number that gets it done. I understand what Coach Dungy's saying from a standpoint when the ball is in the quarterback's hands as much as it is with Lamar Jackson. The last 2 years, he didn't finish the season. But what I would say is there's about a dozen teams right now because of supply and demand that would say, I'll take Lamar Jackson and I'll assume the risk.
Coach, what do you think?
Mike brought up some great points, and I heard that from Tony as well. And the fact that Lamar is a guy that, he plays with his legs, and he hasn't finished the season yet. The last 2 years, he's missed games. With that being said, I think it's a stormy romance. Hopefully it'll get mended. Because this whole team and this organization is built on Lamar Jackson. I mean, the way they play offense, it really, and defense, it complements each other. This is a game that when you look at how they play, the Ravens are going to play good defense. They're going to try to create some turnovers. They want to run the ball. That's what they want to do. If Lamar leaves, they got to change their whole mindset of how they play football.
And they've been very, very good with Lamar Jackson. That would be a shame. It is a Tuesday tradition. Whose jersey are we repping after Wild Card Weekend? You know it's Big Blue for me.